For this strength and mobility sequence, you need a ball. So we're going to start in all fours. Put the ball between your quads. Place your hands under your shoulders, knees under your hips. And we're going to start in cat cow. So take an inhale, extend your spine. Exhale, flex your spine. Just articulate one vertebra at a time. Notice if anything feels sticky or stuck. And connect the movement to your breath. So take an inhale as you extend. Exhale as you flex, and then do that one more time. Inhale, extend. Exhale, flex, and then come back to neutral. So neutral is not extension, it's not flexion, it's right in between. Pull your ribs and your abdominals in, tuck your toes under, and then either lighten or lift your knees just slightly up off the ground and start to squeeze the ball in, squeeze in. Squeeze in. If you have any wrist sensitivity and you prefer to be on your fists, you can do that. Just make sure your elbows are soft. Sometimes we hyperextend our arms, and that puts a lot of tension in your shoulders, your elbows, and your wrist. Slide your shoulders down. Pull your navel in and up. What you're trying to activate here is your transverse abdominis, the deepest layer of your abdominals. They wrap around you like a cummerbund and hold everything in. Exhale as you squeeze in. Squeeze in. Last 6 counts. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Set your knees down. Take a child's pose. So wiggle your hips side to side. A little stretch for your low back. And then come on up. We're going to do a little mid-C curl. So this is a core exercise. You're going to put the ball behind your back. Take your elbows to the ground. Make sure the ball is not too high or too low. You want to make sure your hips are down on the ground. I like to walk my ankles, knees, and thighs all the way together, just to have something to stabilize me. Do the same thing you did in your cat-cow. Open, and then as you exhale, drop your ribs down and feel your hip bones pull toward each other as your abdominals pull in. And then you can take your hands behind your hamstrings, take your head side to side, make sure you're not holding any tension in your neck, and then lighten up off the ball and lower towards the ball. So you want to find a range of motion where you are challenged in both directions. So you want to lift up until you feel like, ooh, yeah, that's a lot. I'm lifting my body away from gravity, and then lower down with control, but don't go so far that your ribs kind of flare open and you're feeling like your head's very heavy. So you want to be able to control this movement using the strength of your abdominals. I have a light, very light grip on the back of my legs. You don't want to death grip the back of your legs. That's going to take tension into your neck and your shoulders. So lift up and up, lower down and down. I like to move really slowly. 1, so I can focus on form and alignment, and 2, so I can make sure I'm really feeling that engagement where I want to feel it, which is in your abdominals. This is actually working more of your rectus abdominis, those more superficial abdominal muscles. But of course, you need the transverse activation as well, which is why we started with that all fours plank. Lift up and up, lower down and down. 2 more, up and up, lower down and down. On this last one, hold the up, open your chest. Again, take your head side to side, squeeze your inner thighs in, pull your navel down, and see if you can hold this without taking tension into your neck, without taking tension into your traps, death gripping the back of your legs. Hold here for 5 counts. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and slide the ball up between your shoulder blades and then drape your body over the ball. You might need something for under your head. If your chest is tight and you don't have the range of motion to get your head to the ground, you can put a pillow or a yoga block underneath your head if this feels uncomfortable on your neck. But this is a nice way to get a gentle stretch across your chest. And then go ahead and come on up, and we're going to do some extensor work to strengthen your back. So this is a lot of core work. We started with that all fours position. We did some rectus abdominis. Now we're going to work those muscles in your back body. So take your arms into a goalpost position. Turn your gaze down. The temptation sometimes is to look forward. That shortens the back of your neck. So gaze down, pull your abdominals in, like I'm going to slide my hand underneath your belly button. And then from here, you're going to lift just your torso and then lower down. Lift up, lower down. So I'm lifting my hands as well. I like this goalpost position Some people prefer their arms back here. If you have anything going on with your shoulders, this might be more comfortable. It really doesn't matter. Just make sure if your arms are back, you get the little bonus of squeezing your triceps. So you can do either one. If you're here, you don't want to be here. You want to draw your shoulders down, activate those serratus muscles, lift up, lower down. So you're not trying to come into like a wheel pose in yoga where you're arching your back. That will go right into your low back. If you overextend your back, it won't get all these muscles. It will go right here. So just little lift, little lower. You're working to strengthen all those muscles that support your spine and your posture. And do 3 more. Lift up, lower down. 2 more. Lift up, lower down. Last one. Lift up. And now hold the lower. You can make a fist with your hand and then rest it on your opposite palm. Now from here, again, pull your abdominals in. Squeeze your glutes. Lift your left leg. Set it down. Lift your right leg. Set it down. You want to lift from your glutes rather than from your low back. So this is different. You're resting your upper body, head on your hands, and you're going to alternate. Squeeze right here, right at the base of your glutes. If it's more helpful for you to use that tactile feedback to feel those muscles activating as you lift up. I'm a huge fan of tactile feedback, connects your brain to your body, which is super important. Right, left, just alternating. Last one left, last one right, and now hold it here. Reach your arms back. You're going to lift everything all together. So arms and legs up and lower all the way down. Lift up, lift all the way down. Lift up, lower all the way down. 2 more. Last one. Hold the lift. Reach your fingertips back towards your toes. Pull your navel in. Reach the crown of your head long. Hold 4 counts. 3, 2, and 1. Press yourself up and back into a child's pose. Wiggle your hips a little bit side to side. You can walk your hands up and over to the right. Reach your left hip away from your right fingertips. And then switch sides. Good. And then come back to your cat-cow. Take an inhale, extend, exhale, flex. Just notice how cat-cow, the physical movement feels, as well as the mental connection and presence you have in your own body after you just spent a little bit of time and intention thinking about these positions, thinking about the muscle activation, and thinking about how everything connects. Sometimes just spending some time on your mat and being intentional about your movement can really improve your movement throughout the rest of the day. All right, and then come back to that child's pose. Hang out here in this resting pose with your eyes closed. Just breathe and take a moment to appreciate everything in your body that is working well. Take a moment to check in and thank yourself for showing up on your mat. If you have any questions, let me know. For this strength and mobility sequence, you just need a ball, and we're going to start in standing. So put the ball between your inner thighs. Make sure when you're standing, your feet are hip width distance apart. Sometimes we stand too close and over squeeze. A lot of times we stand out. And then, of course, you want your toes facing forward versus toes out. We're going to really focus on the top of the quads here, and we want to try to keep things in alignment to protect your joints and to get the most activation for the muscles we are targeting. So you're going to inhale, reach your arms up, lower your arms down. Do that again. Take it, inhale, soften through your knees just slightly. Lower down one more time. Inhale, reach your arms up. Take a hold of your left wrist with your right hand. Take a side stretch to the right. And then take a side stretch to the left. And then we're going to come into a parallel squat. So reach your arms forward, sit your hips back, and stand back up. The ball is more of a spacer than anything else. You don't want to over squeeze the ball, because what happens if you over squeeze, so your knees are going to come in. I want your knees to be directly over your toes. So hips, knees, and toes in the same alignment, and your hips go way back like you're sitting on a little teeny tiny stool behind you. So the ball is a spacer to remind you to keep that hip width distance. If you over squeeze it, it's going to look like this. So you don't need to do that. reach back. So notice my hips go way back. If your heels ever lift in squats, it probably means your feet are tight. If your knees are going really far forward, again, might mean your feet or shins, calves are tight. You want to try to get your hips back as much as you can. Last 6 counts. We're coming down into a straight arm plank, also sometimes known as a high plank. Last 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and just plant your hands, slide your feet back. You can always do these planks on your knees. If you're ever having a day where this just isn't feeling okay for your shoulders, you can come to a wall and do a plank here, just less load on your shoulders and your upper body in general. So high plank, you always have the option to come up onto your fists, but soften through your elbows. When I say straight arm plank, I don't mean super straight, hyperextended. I mean, soften through your elbows. You've got that ball. Now I actually want you to squeeze the ball in. If you're up, knees lifted, soften your knees a little bit, squeeze the ball in, check your alignment. Sometimes hips drop down in plank. Sometimes hips come too high, almost like in a half dog. Keep your hips mostly in line with your shoulders. Sometimes I even err on lifting them a little bit to get more engagement in my abdominals. Squeeze in, squeeze in, squeeze in. As you squeeze in, close your eyes and imagine every time you squeeze the ball in, your hip bones are drawing toward each other and your navel is pulling towards your spine. And then think about pulling your ribs in. Last 5 counts. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Set your knees down, shift your hips over your knees, and then just gently walk your hands forward. This is called an extension stretch. It's a little stretch for your mid back. And then we're going to do some push-ups, which I know people hate push-ups, but it's very functional and practical to be able to push your body weight up off the ground. So take your hands wider than your shoulders. If you're coming to standing to a wall, you can do this on a wall, hands wider than your shoulders. So hands wider, you can be on your knees or your toes or some combination of the two. You don't have to do all of these push-ups, but we're going to go slowly and we're going to do 10. So no momentum, really slowly. Inhale, lower down. Exhale, press up. Inhale down, press up. The more you think about pulling your abdominals in, the lighter your body is going to be to push away from the ground. You have 5 more. Inhale down, exhale, press up. Last 4. Inhale down, exhale, press up. 2 to go. Inhale down, press up. Last 1. And then push your body away. Open your knees wide, come into a child's pose. The ball's there. You can just kind of let your body roll across the top of the ball. I actually like that. I like kind of draping my body over the ball. And then come forward. You're going to go into a forearm plank. So you're going to put your elbows down on the ground, slide your legs back. Again, knees down or toes lifted. It's up to you. One is not necessarily better than the other. Sometimes I set my knees down because I feel more engaged in my abdominals with my knees down. So take an inhale, exhale, pull your elbows and your knees toward each other. Squeeze the ball in, pull your navel in and up. You can stay here on your knees. I feel incredibly engaged here on my knees. My abdominals are quivering a little bit. You can lengthen your legs. Sometimes when I lengthen my legs, because I'm very strong in my quadriceps, my legs can hold the plank all day long. So if you really want to get this in your abdominals, soften your knees a little bit and take an inhale. Exhale, pull your elbows back. We're going to go into a Sphinx pose for a little spinal mobility. In 5 counts, you're going to lower your hips all the way down. In 3, 2, on 1. Gently lower your hips down, just a little teeny tiny back bend, a little extension, and then come back to your forearm plank. So at Alkalign, we don't do anything in the extremes. It's all controlled range of motion. We actually educate against those extremes because those extremes are so glorified in so many other areas of sports, exercise, and life, right? We're used to like the bigger, the faster, the more is more kind of mindset. So you're just going from your neutral plank to just a little Sphinx position. Okay, on this last one, hold the down. And then walk your elbows out. You're going to bring your torso down. So you're not in extension anymore. You're coming into a prone position. So hug your inner quads into the ball. And I want you to take your hands to your glutes and feel your glutes engage. So relax for a second and then hug into the ball. You'll feel your glutes activate and your hands kind of pull in. You feel that? Relax again. And then pull in. Take your arms into a goalpost position. Lift your left leg up. Take your left hand to the base of your glutes and start to squeeze the ball in. Squeeze in, squeeze in, squeeze in. So just as you're squeezing in, think about the right side. So you have to engage your right glutes so you're not squeezing, like pushing your body to the right. You're squeezing in and hold, in and hold. Two more. Last one, hold the squeeze and then start to lift your leg up. Notice how my leg is barely moving. The lift is coming from my glutes. This is a long lever position. If it feels better for you to take a slight bend or a full bend of your knee, if that helps you connect to your glutes a little bit better, it just depends on the lever. I have really short legs, short levers anyway, so it doesn't make as big of a difference for me if you're on the taller side. Sometimes shortening the lever takes the work out of, where it could go, like your low back, and puts it in to your glutes. So pick the lever of your choice. Make sure your hips are evenly pressed into the ground. Your gaze is down so you're not looking up and shortening the back of your neck. And then really focus on squeeze and lift, squeeze and lift, squeeze and lift, squeeze and lift. So we're just trying to spend some time here activating these muscles. This is a good way to identify where they are, awaken them a little bit. And then as you build strength, you will also build endurance, and you can do these exercises for longer. But start where you are, be patient with yourself, and the more patience and grace you give yourself up front, the more you'll be inspired to just keep showing up rather than going too hard, too fast, and feeling like, oh, that was too much. I can't do it. Last 6 counts. 5, 4, 3, 2. Last one. Hold it here. Squeeze the ball in. Hold 4 counts. 3, 2, and 1. Relax your leg if you had a bent leg. Press yourself up and back into a child's pose. We're going to do the same thing on the other side in a moment. I want to give your back a little break because that's just we're working the glutes. That's a lot of back and core work as well. Okay, come back down into your prone position. Take your arms out, squeeze the ball in, lift from your right glutes this time. Lift up. I like the tactile feedback. Oh, sorry, start with the squeeze in. I did that before. Squeeze in. As you squeeze in, just remember to squeeze back with the left side. So your right inner thigh is pulling into the ball. Your left glutes are firing so that essentially your right leg doesn't push your left leg out of alignment. All right, last one. Hold it here. And then start to lift up, lift up, lift up. And you'll notice because you're close to the ground, you'll notice if your hips want to teeter-totter. You can imagine I'm holding onto your hips, holding them steady. But the stronger you get in your glutes, the more you'll be able to stabilize your own pelvis without even your own tactile feedback. Lift up. If it's helpful for you, again, to shorten the lever by softening your knee or bending your leg, you choose whatever helps you connect most to your glutes. Bending the leg doesn't make it easier or anything like that. It just might help you better identify and activate where those muscles are. Lift up and hold. Up and hold. All the way, I'll keep like a gentle squeeze on the ball. That's just going to help keep your knees in alignment. It's going to help, just with your stability. Notice I'm barely lifting. You might be able to not even see it. It's lift up and hold. Lift up and hold. So I'm not just holding, it's like tiny press up and hold. Press up and hold. So we're keeping this very basic. Again, just go inward, find these muscles, learn, which levers work better, pull your abdominals in and up, make sure your core is always active. And then eventually you'll be able to move on to our longer Align classes. And those are, 30 or 45 minutes. with a little more variation. You'll get there as you build strength and endurance. Last 4 counts. 3, 2, and 1. Set your leg down. Press yourself up. We're going to do a different kind of stretch this time around. Lift your left leg up and cross it over your right like that, and then shift your hips back. If this doesn't work for you, you can do it on both sides. Take your time. I'm just going to show you what the alternative is. If that doesn't work, flip over to your back, cross your right and go over your left, and just gentle figure 4. I'm never a proponent for like stuffing someone's knees into their chest. I see that with like coaches and fitness trainers sometimes. They just think more is more with the stretching. I've seen like gymnastics and dance coaches like put a kid in a split and like push their shoulders down. It's so cringy. Overstretching will get you in more trouble than understretching. All right, and then just unwind your legs, bring your knees down to the ground, and just windshield wiper your legs back and forth a little bit. Close your eyes. Just take a moment to surrender to gravity. Notice your body's relationship to the ground. Take a moment to reflect on what felt good, what felt challenging. Maybe you notice a couple imbalances side to side. Just pay attention. Notice what you notice. Notice without judgment. Knowledge is power. The more you know about yourself, the better off you're going to be, especially when you learn how to adapt and trust your own body. So appreciate yourself for showing up. Just take a moment here of stillness and gratitude on the floor. And feel free to do any other exercises or get out the balls and do a little rolling. I'll see you next time. For this sequence, you need your mat and the ground, and you also need a wall. We're going to be doing a wall sit. Okay, we're going to start in my favorite way to start any class, cat-cow. Take your hands underneath your shoulders, your knees under your hips. We're going to start with some spinal mobility. So take an inhale, extend, exhale, flex, neck movement to your breath. It's nice to have some consistency. Like you might think, oh my gosh, I'm going to see a lot of cat-cows. At Alkalign, that is true, but it's nice to keep going back to similar things. I feel the same way about downward dog. You can just say, oh, my feet are tighter than they were yesterday, or my back is tighter than it was yesterday. It's just a nice kind of regular kind of litmus test for what's going on. Okay, now come to neutral, and we're gonna do some extensor work. So this is gonna require a little balance and core strength. Slide your left leg back. Reach your right arm forward, thumb up. Soften your left elbow. Sometimes the tendency is to lock up the left elbow. Lift your arm and your leg up. You're going to lift up. So you're lifting your left leg from the base of your glutes. This is very challenging for balance. You might feel a little wibbly wobbly here, but pull your abdominals in and up. Pull your ribs up. If it's helpful for you to take that right hand and use it as like a little hammock underneath your ribs, something tactile to pull away from, do that. We're going to go into a bird dog in 4 counts. 3, 2, and 1. Draw your elbow and your knee in and reach away. So this is not a cat-cow. You're not tucking or rounding and extending. You're going to stay in neutral. Imagine you have a piping hot cup of tea on your back. You want to hold that steady as you pull in and out. So you're adding a little range of motion to destabilize your body, right? When you're moving, especially away from you. It's destabilizing harder. So this is challenging your core stability. 2 more. Reach away, pull in and in, reach away, and then set your left knee down. Lift your right arm up, open up, rotate to the right, and then thread the needle, slide your right arm underneath your left. You could take your left hand the outside of your right hip, and then breathe into your right shoulder. And then come back up. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Extend your right leg, reach your left arm forward, lift your arm and your leg up. Soften your right elbow. Make sure your shoulders and your hips are square to the floor. Right away, you'll probably notice the difference. It's more challenging one side versus the other. That is normal. We all have imbalances in our body. Knowing where they are and what to do about them, that's where the magic happens. Lift up, lift up. Okay, we're gonna go into bird dog in 4 counts. 3, 2, and 1. Draw your elbow and your knee in. Reach away. Pull in and in. Reach away. And in. Reach away. Remember that hot cup of tea is on your low back. So you want to find as much stability. You're not arching or flexing. Just do that in opposition. Pull in and in. Reach away. 2 more. In and in. Reach away. Last one. In and in. Reach out and then set your right knee down. Open up your left hand. Slide your left arm underneath your right. You can wrap your right arm around if that feels good for you. This is a nice little thoracic rotation for your spine. Little shoulder stretch. If you're really tight and it's hard for you to get your shoulder or your ear to the ground, we might have to explore a little more shoulder mobility work. Okay, and then coming up, we're in a downward dog up. So take a moment in your downward dog. Lift your hips up. Look back at your feet. Make sure your feet are hip width distance, and then do what we call walk the dog. Bend one knee and then the other, and you can pay attention to how far or how close your heels are from the ground. If you have tight feet, calves, hamstrings, or even like back, this can impact how you feel in a downward dog. And then gently start to walk your hands and your feet toward each other. Carefully, slowly round up. If you come up too quickly, you might get lightheaded. Okay, I'm gonna slide the mat all the way. Find your wall. I don't have a flat wall here. I have a bar, but it's gonna work. Okay, slide your back down the wall. Bring your feet forward. So you don't want your feet back like this. See how my knees are forward of my ankles. That's gonna take load out of your quads, put more load in your knees. Your knees are not muscles. They don't get stronger. They just erode over time. Okay, so make sure thigh bones are either parallel to the floor or higher. The nice thing about this exercise is you can kind of customize how high or low you come depending on what load your quads can absorb. So feet are hip width distance apart. Look down at your toes. Make sure your toes are facing forward. Your knees are over your ankles and knees are in line with your hips. So think about like the number 11, 2 straight lines next to each other. Then take your hands and push your hands into your quads. Push your quads up into your hands. You feel a little bit more activation in your quads. As you push your feet away from you and press your tailbone back, that's adding a little bit more load. That's called ground reaction force. It's the same thing as just sitting here, hanging out, but you're just going to get more out of it, right? A little bit more intensity, a little bit more intention. Push your feet down into the ground, press your tailbone back, pull your ribs in. Sometimes I find myself kind of flaring the ribs in this position. So you can take your hands to your ribs. Your hands are free to do whatever you want to check neutral spine, ribs in, push down with your hands, push up with your quads, open through your chest. Take an inhale. Good. Exhale. Last 6 counts. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then shimmy your way up the wall. Turn around, hold on to the wall. Take your right ankle into your right hand. Soften your left knee. Slide your right leg back. Quad stretch. And then switch sides. Take your left ankle into your hand. So you want to make sure your knee is not forward like this. You're going to get absolutely nothing out of it if it is. So soften your standing knee, slide your leg back, and then kind of tilt your hips under a little bit. You'll feel that stretch more. So if your knee's here and you don't feel anything, slide your knee back a little bit. Whew, that's where the magic happens. Last 5 counts. We're coming back down to the ground in 3, 2, and 1. Slide my mat forward. Okay, I want to show you another quad strengthening exercise. This doesn't work for everybody's knees. So if this isn't working for you, you can do another wall sit. You can always swap out a different quad exercise. So we're going to start today with your knees under your hips and your feet behind your knees, okay? And then reach your arms forward, stay in neutral, and you're going to hinge your hips back till you feel a little catch in your quads, and then come back up. What you want to avoid is clenching or gripping your glutes. You want to completely relax your glutes as you hinge back so that the work is in your quads. Again, if this doesn't work, wall sit is usually the best option for people. I'm showing these next to each other so that you can feel the difference. I really like this exercise. I didn't like it a lot when I first started doing it, but I think as I built up quad strength, it just felt better for my body. If some people don't have like the mobility in their knees to do it, but those are all things you can work on. I've had knee surgeries. I have like bone on bone in one leg. I have arthritis in my knee. I can still do this because of all the other strengthening I've done. So um, don't worry, if it's not working for you today, it doesn't mean you need to rule it out forever. Two more. Reach back, pull up. Last one. Hinge back, and then come on up. And then last but not least, we're going back into another child's pose. So open your knees wide, reach your arms forward, shift your hips side to side, and just take a moment to stretch your back and thank yourself for stretching your mind by showing up here and committing to learn a little something about yourself by putting these movements into practice in your own body. Feel free to do any other stretching or rolling you like. I recommend a quad roll, really nice option, especially after those 2 sets of quad work. For this strength and mobility sequence, you need a ball. We're going to start on the ground. So lie down on your back with the ball between your quads. Just rest your head. I'm going to move my ponytail so my head is flat on the ground. Bring your feet hip width distance apart and point your toes forward. So toes line up with your heels. From here, we're going to just practice the positions of the spine. So I just want you to settle in without thinking too much about anything. Just take a breath. Exhale. Do that again. Take an inhale. Good. Exhale. And feel the points of contact. Your feet, the back of your pelvis, back of your shoulders, and back of your head, and just let them sink into the ground. It's really, really valuable, especially as you're beginning this work, to start on the ground. And I am a big proponent of coming back to the ground. I feel like it's very stable. You get a lot of feedback from the floor. It's a nice way to just get acquainted or reacquainted to what's happening in your body. Okay, take your thumbs to your hip bones, wrap your hands around your pelvis, and then from here, you're going to tilt your hips towards your ribs. When you do that, you'll notice the little air pocket of space that was underneath your low back now disappears. If you put your hands under your low back, you'll push down into your own fingers. Okay, so you're going to tilt your hips, push your back down so you can't slide anything under your back, and then release to neutral. That little air pocket will open back up. So again, tilt, release. So this is called spinal mobility. It's not quite as complete or as full range of motion as a cat-cow because, for example, you can't really explore extension on your back unless you like do some sort of like weird position like this. So we're just going to go neutral to flexion. So tilt your hips, squeeze the ball a little bit, and then release. 2 more. Tilt and release. I want you to feel the difference between neutral and flexion. And this last one, hold the tilt, squeeze the ball in. I like to bring my hands down to my side or hands to the glutes. And now you're going to glute bridge your hips up and lower your hips down. Find the squeeze at the top and then try to hold onto that squeeze as long as you can as you lower. And then when you get towards that range of motion where you feel like you have to release the squeeze, just go back up. So we're going to try to hold on to that engagement of your glutes and that connection between your brain and your body as long as you can. So this is different than a glute bridge you might see. Sometimes people are like down and squeeze and down and squeeze, and like they're moving a lot, but they're not actually really paying attention. And by default, they're probably not getting as much activation out of it. So I'm a big proponent of intention, listening to your body, paying attention. Lift up and up, squeeze, and lower, down and down. Lift up and up, lower, down and down. So today we're just going to do a symmetrical bilateral glute bridge, working both glutes at the same time. If it's helpful for you to put your hands on your glutes, please, by all means, do that. Okay, we're going to do one more and then hold it at the top. Hold on, and then just squeeze the ball in. So now you're activating your adductors a little bit, and you're wrapping your glutes around. Squeeze in, squeeze in, squeeze in. Last 6, 5, 4, 3. We're going back to full range of motion. 2. Last one. Lower down, lift up, squeeze. I'm going to do 10 more of these, and then you're going to get a little glute stretch. Lower down, lift up, squeeze. Again, hold on to the engagement the whole time. Last 5. Lift up, squeeze. 4. Lift up, squeeze. 3 to go. 2. Last one. Lower down and down. Lift up. And then gently set your hips all the way down. Hug your knees into your chest. Take a couple gentle rocks side to side. Take your knees up and over to the right. Reach your gaze to the left. You can straighten out your top leg if you like that. I like to rotate my ankles one direction, the other, just a little blood flow. So it's a good idea. And then switch sides. Take your knees to the left, gaze to the right. And then rock and roll. I'm going to take the ball out for a second, but then put it back in. Come to an all fours position. And we're going to go replace your hands with your elbows. So this is an exercise for your triceps called a forearm press. So came from all fours, replace your hands with your elbows, and then shift your heart forward, and then lift your elbows up away from the ground and lower your arms back down, keeping your weight shifted forward. So what I see a lot of people do is they shift their body back and forth. You want to keep your hips right over your knees and just lay your forearms down. It's that point where your triceps, these muscles in the back of your arm, they fire. Lower down and down, lift up and up. And if it feels too easy, shift forward like you're peeking over the side of a cliff. If it feels absolutely impossible to do, you can shift back a little bit. You're just going to play around with the load to your triceps. Lower down and down, lift up and up. So working your triceps, lift up and up, wrap your arms in. So I'll show you from the front. Sometimes we want to go like this. I want you to externally rotate the shoulders, wrap your arms in, and then lay your forearms down. So you shouldn't see your elbows out to the side. If you have, a mirror at home, you can get like one of those ones that leans against the wall, full-length mirror, pretty cheap. You don't even have to hang it up. The reflective surface is good feedback for your form. Okay, we've got a child's pose, another 6 counts. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and shift back, flip your palms up, bend your arms in half, and then give yourself a pat in the back. Okay, last but not least, we're going to do another abdominal exercise. So this is called flat back floor. You have the option to take the ball and put it just barely underneath your tailbone. If that helps you kind of connect your back to the ground, you can do it without. But I see a lot of people kind of put the ball too high and then they're sort of like, whoo, you don't want to be destabilizing. The point is to stabilize more. So bring just your right leg up, take your hands, put them on your ribs, thumbs to your ribs, fingers, pinky fingers to your hip bone. Take an inhale, let your ribs expand, and then exhale, drop your ribs down, and you're going to lower your leg out for 2 counts, pull it in for 2 counts. So only move as far as you can, pushing your back down into the ground and not letting it lift or letting your ribs flare as you move out and in. So start really slowly, press out and out, in and in. I love the stability of having the opposite foot down. I feel more connected, more engaged. Sometimes people think, oh, having both legs up is harder and better. It might be more challenging in different ways, but it doesn't mean it is better. I've noticed the more acquainted I've gotten with my body, the slower I move, the more deliberately I move, the more I feel engaged, and it's like much more effective use of my time. I used to spend hours and hours exercising and just completely spaced out, and I don't think I was probably doing more damage than I was good. Last one, press out and out, in and in, and then set your right foot down, left leg up. Same thing, press out and out, in and in. So pull your belly button down, push your back down into the ground without letting your ribs flare or your belly kind of brace and push out. You want everything to pull down, everything to knit together. We've been conditioned to brace and kind of push out against, and like I've seen that taught in a lot of classes. If you push out, your abdominals will stay like that. And if you push out too much, you actually could get an abdominal separation, which is not good, not a good thing. 2 more. Press out and out, in and in. Last one, out and out. And now come back in and take your both legs up, heels together, knee and toes together, knees apart. Okay, and then I like to hold on to the side of my mat. And again, re-tilt, push your back down, and you're gonna take both legs out and in. So what I notice when I bring both legs up, I feel it in my abdominals a lot. I also start feeling it more in my quads because it's more load going out. And so if you're really trying to get acquainted to your deep core musculature, adding the load of both legs moving out and in at the same time may distract your abdominals from firing. It might invite other muscles to the party and it might dilute that engagement. So you might be better off just setting one leg down. Maybe you'll just get more here, less here, right? You can also turn your leg out as you're doing the one-legged option. I should have mentioned that. Sometimes for people who are quad dominant, that will take work out of your quads, put more into your abdominals. So just because I give you the option to bring both legs up doesn't mean you need to take it. I also like the option of moving the legs and the arms in opposition, but make sure you're not arching your back. The shape of your spine, rather, is not changing. Just the position of your arms and legs are. As you go out, you should feel more engagement here, right? And then in. But notice I'm not going all the way down to the ground. That would be outside of my range of motion. So keep it small, keep it tight, and stay really engaged. Last 4 counts. 3, 2, and 1. Nice job. Hug your knees into your chest. Take a little rock side to side. Grab your ball. We're going to flip over one more time and just get a little abdominal massage. So place the ball underneath your belly button and just rock side to side a little bit, giving those muscles that you were just working and activating a little massage. It's also good to abdominal roll for stress reduction, better digestion, your lymphatic system, and it helps you connect to this deep core work a little bit more. If you put the ball there, it's just going to remind your brain where those muscles are, and it's going to the recall on that next time you go to use them, whether it's in a class or just kind of walking down the street trying to stabilize your hips, it's going to come in handy. So ball rolling, gut rolling for the win. All right, feel free to stay here. Once I start doing this abdominal roll, I usually don't want to stop, so I'll stay here for a while. Stay as long as you like. Take a moment to just appreciate everything in your body that is working well. And use this as an opportunity to strengthen anything that isn't where you'd like it to be yet. Stick with it. Stay consistent. You'll get there. Thanks for joining. See you soon.